Right, welcome. Press X to doubt. Joker 2 was never about addressing toxic fandom, says director Todd Phillips. The explanation on this is laughable. It's very, very funny, actually. This was supposedly an interview taken prior to the movie's release, but has only just been released after the movie. So that's interesting. This also came out yesterday. Now, I'd understand if it came out, like at the weekend or something like that. But this has been this is on IGN. So I would say that this has been staged. It's been released at a very opportune time. Maybe Warner Brothers publicist asked them to do it. Maybe Todd Phillips' individual publicist, asked them to do this. I wouldn't put it past IGN. Let's put it that way. So I thought this was interesting. Now look, Joker 2 is just an awful film. I didn't like it, obviously. I did a review of it. I thought it was terrible. And part of what is so egregious about this film is its disdain, pretty apparent disdain, for its own audience. Most people can see it. It's not a shock, is it? Let's be honest. He's trying to deny that now, basically. Trying to salvage the movie, I think, in some regard. So, yeah, let's take a look, right? Hit subscribe if you're new here. But it says this: critics and audiences finally agree on a movie. Each faction hates Joker Folie. The sequel to the 2019 Oscar-nominated blockbuster tanked at the box office in its debut weekend, and review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes shows critics and filmgoers in sync with troubling scores of 33% and 31% respectively. So another thing about Joker 2 that both journalists and moviegoers have pointed out: the idea that the film, particularly its shocking ending and implications of who the real Joker is a direct rebuke of the fans who embraced the first film and made it a $1 billion hit. It's not just that, it's the fact that this was even a musical. It's the fact that you got Lady Gaga in there. The movie's done everything within its power to irritate the people that watched the first movie and made it a success, basically. So it says this, quote, Joker, Folie Deux's fatal flaw is turning the fans into the villains of the sequel, screams Variety. Fans say Joker 2 ending was a betrayal, but was it actually its finest moment? THR pined. Mashable called Joker Folie Deux a middle finger to the fans of Lady Gaga, the DC movies and musical. Rolling Stone says Joker Folie Deux has a message for fans. Go F yourself. Likewise, audience backlash on social media and YouTube all echo the same refrain: Joker 2 hates Joker fans. Which it does. It does. But no, apparently Todd Phillips is trying to deny that. While that is a legitimate way for some viewers to read the film, even our critic, IGN's critic, Siddhant Adlakha, said in his Joker Folie Deux review, the movie, quote, temporarily allows a commentary on fandom obsession to sneak its way into the picture. It wasn't the intent of Joker Folie Deux director Todd Phillips to appear to make the fans of his previous Joker film the bad guys of a sequel. So let's see what he says. So IGN asked Phillips, basically earlier this month at the film's press junket, the following: I'm watching the film and I'm struck by the fact that this is somebody who is essentially a newfound celebrity dealing with a following and a fandom that they didn't necessarily think they'd ever get. Todd Phillips says, Arthur Fleck, didn't sign up for it. They didn't ask for it. You know what, though? That's wrong. You only have to just watch the movie itself, the first movie. Joker, Arthur Fleck, loves the adoration from fans, from everyone on the street. He loves it. He genuinely loves it. I mean, the end of the movie is him getting this approval. He loved it. He wanted it. So it's not necessarily right, but okay. And so IGN says, then this film was a way, kind of a commentary of fan entitlement or even toxic fandom. And Phillips replied with this: not so much that, to be honest with you, but one of the things that we always thought about the first movie, or one of the things I definitely said enough in defending the first movie when it needed to be defended, because people said it's irresponsible, its use of violence, and I always saw it quite literally the opposite. I thought it was responsible because it was showing the actual real-world effects of violence. It wasn't glamorizing gun use in my mind. It was actually showing, oh my god, this is brutal. And I think the reality of it maybe is what turned people off. The people that were turned off. One of the things we tried to continue, with here is that same idea is, to me, a really important scene in the movie is when he's cross-examining the little guy, Gary. Why? Because it's showing you the real-world effects of trauma on a person who witnessed it, right? Even beyond just witnessing something horrible, what does that do to you, right? You know what I mean? It's 2-3 years later in the movie and Gary still says he can't sleep and he still wasn't able to go back to work. These effects of violence was something we really wanted to kind of, at least that scene addresses some part of it, but not so much toxic fandom, honestly. But it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Okay, sure, fine. I'm just thinking, this is IGN. I'm just thinking the idea of, look, the fans want Joker. They can't necessarily deal with Arthur. And I'm wondering, he's got fans that show up cosplaying as him. And they're basically like, give us Joker, give us the Clown Prince of Crime. Philip says, yes, that's right. It reminds me of the fans like, give us Batman, give us the Clown Prince, all that sort of thing. I guess you're right. And you guys are pushing back like, no, 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 I'm just Arthur. And Phillips responds and goes, that's right. That is in the movie, but it was never about addressing toxic fandom. But it was about addressing this idea of what happens if this thing gets put upon you. Like we were saying just 5 minutes ago, but it's not actually what you are. And then what happens in the worst case scenario? If you finally find love in your life, or you think you do, but that person is in love with the character that you represent, not the person that you are. He's almost doing mental gymnastics to justify it. I also asked Oscar winner Joaquin Phoenix about whether Joker Folie Deux is a commentary on fandom or fan entitlement, but he largely rejected anything that would inform audiences on how they should read this or any other film. Fucking, I hate Joaquin Phoenix. I really do hate him. I think he's... I really think he's shit. Like, yeah, he's shit. He really is. I don't know if you remember back in the early 80s, there was this guy, the Unknown Comic, and his whole shtick was he wore a grocery bag over his head, and he was on this show, Real People, and it was a phenomenon of the Unknown Comic, and I can't even remember any of his jokes, but the minute that guy took the bag off, and that was the big reveal, you never heard from him again. And I'm wondering if there's any similarities there with Arthur. People just want the makeup, they want the suit. Joaquin responds, of course, yeah, I think they wanted Joker, and I think he realises that at some point, I think there's a moment where maybe he regrets the choices that he's made, maybe. IGN says, do you think the movie or this particular story is a commentary on fandom or maybe fan entitlement? Because they're cosplaying basically as their favourite character out there. He's got all these fans that show up, and even DC fans are like, oh, give us the Clown Prince of Crime, and you guys are like, he's just Arthur. There seems like there maybe is a Phoenix responds, just interrupts him. I don't know about that. I really think there's probably several themes. I think each person can derive a different kind of meaning from them. And I think that's the value of it. I don't like it when people, the filmmakers or the actors, really primarily are like, this is the point we're trying to make. Pay attention, we're talking about you. That's not how I approached it, but I certainly think that's part of it. I don't know how you examine celebrity without thinking about that. Press X to doubt on a lot of this. Joaquin Phoenix came up with this story in a dream, just as an FYI. Allegedly. Todd Phillips knew he made a bomb. He was hiding on a ranch during opening weekend. They didn't test it. They got massive paydays. They know that this is a failure. I mean, they must know it. Jesus. I can't wait for the interviews to come out further down the line. But there you go. I mean, I press X to doubt on that. They clearly did not like the fact that people responded so well to the first movie. Otherwise, you wouldn't do something so different. You just wouldn't. It's just bizarre. I know, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Apparently, this is not about toxic fandom. I press X to doubt on that. But there you go. Cheers, take care. Bye-bye now.